Today, the CDC extending the eviction ban for another 2 months. We talked to a landlord impacted by the latest extension. Kroger announcing that it's entering the restaurant business. It's partnering up with a startup, and soon you'll see kitchens open up inside the supermarkets. And mergers and acquisitions reach an all-time high global record. What's behind the jump, and why are companies looking for M&A to growth? That and much more coming up in NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. Target is the latest corporate to pay 100% of college tuition, fees, and textbooks for its workers. Full-time and part-time staff can get it. Not only that, but Target will also pay up to $10,000 a year for employees to attend graduate school. To qualify for full coverage, employees have to choose from a list of 40 schools and 250 degree programs aligned with Target's business goals. Employees can pick outside the list, but then the compensation decreases. Workers at Target stores, corporate headquarters, and the retailer's distribution centers all qualify for the program from the day they start working. Walmart, Chipotle, and Starbucks have similar programs. CVS is raising its minimum wage to $15 an hour. It says it will begin increasing wages for hourly employees this month and hit the $15 mark by next July. About 65% of CVS's hourly employees already make more than $15 an hour. Those who do, like pharmacy technicians and call center reps, will also see a wage increase. CVS employs nearly 300,000 people. And Kroger is getting into the restaurant business. It's teaming up with a ghost kitchen startup to offer on-demand meal pickup and delivery from its popular restaurants. NTD's Evelyn Lee has more on the increasingly popular business model.
Kroger is teaming up with ghost kitchen startup Kitchen United. Soon, Kroger will place ghost kitchens in some supermarkets. The first one will launch in Los Angeles this fall, and more are expected to follow this year. Ghost kitchens are kitchen spaces that businesses can use to prepare, sell, and deliver food. Kroger's vice president said in a statement that increasingly more customers want fresh, on-demand meals. Kroger now wants to tap into the need of restaurants to use off-premise kitchen space. Both Kroger and Kitchen United experienced a surge in demand during the pandemic. But now, with more people returning to restaurants, both could experience slower sales. According to Kroger's Director of Partnership Development, the collaboration allows customers to order lunch or dinner for pickup while they shop for groceries. For Kitchen United, the partnership means access to millions of supermarket customers and a better way to address demand. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
If you use WhatsApp, you can now send photos and videos that disappear starting this week. It wants to compete with Snapchat. The feature is called View Once. It'll let photos and videos disappear from the chat after they've been seen. WhatsApp's owner also says once the media content has been viewed, the message will be shown as opened. WhatsApp's rival Snapchat is known for this feature that lets users post updates that just disappear after 24 hours. It's grown in popularity as pandemic restrictions kept users at home. And digital subscriber growth at the New York Times slowed to its lowest point in 3 years. Downloads of the company's app also dropped, but its advertising business pushed the company above profits estimates. The Times added only 142,000 digital subscribers in the quarter ending June. That's the lowest since 2018. And a Sensor Tower data shows that downloads of the company's app fell by 2/3 year over year. But ad sales increased 66% as companies raised their marketing budgets. Revenue rose over $498 million. That's up over 23% from a year ago. Shares grew by nearly 8% today. And GM is back in the black. It reported a quarterly profit of $2.8 billion today, rebounding from a loss of over $800 million last year. Strong demand for its most profitable trucks and SUVs boosted its bottom line, and the higher prices it's able to charge for them also helped. That offset the costs from production disruptions, and it also has to spend to recall its Chevy Bolt electric vehicles. That could cost the company as much as $800 million, and the disruptions could continue. A global chip shortage has hampered production of major automakers. GM says it had $1.8 billion worth of vehicles in inventory built without certain electronic parts due to the lack of semis. GM CEO said the chip shortage will continue to impact the company into 2022. And a giant Tesla battery caught fire recently, and the blaze took several days to get under control. Although the fire was in Australia, the risk with the technology could be closer to home. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
A giant Tesla battery facility fire in Australia took 4 days to put out. 150 firefighters with 30 fire trucks were needed to contain the blaze. A process known as thermal runaway within battery cells is the cause of these fires.
The problem is that us academics are still arguing over precisely what causes thermal runaway, what reaction or reactions trigger thermal runaway.
These types of giant batteries are known as Megapacks. The fire erupted during testing in a shipping container that held a 13-ton lithium-ion battery. It then spread to a second battery pack.
And it's very difficult to stop a cell in thermal runaway. And what can then happen is that the heat is propagated to an adjacent cell, and so on and so forth.
The plant is owned and operated by French company Neoen. It's one of the biggest lithium-ion battery storage facilities in the world. Christensen says because the technology is new, we still don't know the risks. He says there have been 38 large lithium battery fires since 2018.
When we first started using petrol and diesel in internal combustion engines, the average person on the street was carrying around petrol and diesel and pouring it into their cars without really knowing what the hazards and risks were. And it's just that we're on a very steep learning curve at the moment. But I truly and honestly believe that we will get there.
One battery expert says there are challenges in putting out these types of fires.
And so that means that they can actually be quite unpredictable. So we've seen this also with lithium-ion battery fires on electric vehicles.
The Australian Battery Project has 210 megapacks that are capable of storing up to 450 mega-hours of energy for the grid. Harper says this type of risk is also closer to home.
See, I think what's of a little bit more concern is where people are having home energy storage systems. So the similar technology to what we've seen in Australia, but on a much smaller version in people's homes.
Harper says there should be a focus on regulation for these home storage units. The market for industrial energy storage facilities is set to grow 27 times by the end of the decade. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And the CDC is introducing a new ban on evictions, which it says will help stop the spread of the CCP virus. The previous ban expired over the weekend. It covered the entire country, well, anyone earning less than $99,000 per year. This order only bars evictions where there is a substantial or high levels of community spread of the virus. That's still about 80% of American counties right now. Democratic lawmakers hailed the news.
Huge victory for working families. This is a huge victory for the vulnerable, and it is a huge victory for the power of direct action and not taking no for an answer.
But does the CDC even have the authority to stop landlords from evicting non-paying tenants? The Supreme Court ruled in late June that any extension to the moratorium would have to be approved by Congress, which it wasn't. A federal court later ruled in July that the CDC had overstepped its authority in halting evictions. Even the president himself isn't sure it's constitutional.
The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster, number one. But there are several key scholars who think that it may, and it's worth the effort.
The president says we'll have to wait and see about the new one. The CDC estimates that over 10 million renters benefited from the eviction moratorium. But where there's a tenant who benefits, there's a landlord who loses out. The Aspen Institute estimates that landlords are owed $20 billion in back rent. That's where the federal rental assistance is supposed to come in. CDC says $25 billion from a recent virus spending bill has already been sent to state and local authorities. That money is supposed to go to struggling landlords.
Once we get a moratorium extension in place, we need governors and municipalities to get emergency rental assistance funds out. That is what the point of this moratorium is to buy time.
Well, it looks like the money is there. And it's either still in Washington or it's down at state and local government, or somewhere in between. It doesn't seem to me require any additional legislative action.
The money may be there, but it's not easy to get to, according to anyone I've spoken with. Jeff Weinberg is president at Drexel Properties. He owns 450 units in Chicago. He agrees with supporting homeowners during this time. He thinks that they should get rental assistance from the government, landlords that is. But he says that's a slow process, too slow for many landlords with mortgages and taxes to pay.
The problem is that it's pretty difficult to get to that money, and the process of submitting the applications, of working with tenants for them to submit the applications, the process of matching the tenant and the housing provider has made it really slow. So you've got owners that are depending on that rent to pay a property tax bill that might be $10,000, and they have a tenant that is $15,000 behind in rent because they haven't paid rent in a year. The county won't wait for the taxes very long. The lenders are pressuring them to pay. So there's a lot of people that are having a difficult time making ends meet because they're waiting for the rental assistance. The programs, I think, are very good, and the quantity of the assistance that's coming through is very good also. The problem is that that it's taking a very long time, and as an example, in the second round with the state of Illinois through the Illinois Housing Development Authority, the program is great. I would say the program is great, but we submitted 17 applications. We got 7 of them that came back voided. We have no idea why. We don't know if it's something that we did wrong. We're not impervious to making a mistake when entering information, but we don't know if it's us. We don't know if it's the tenant. And there's not a good process for being able to figure that out. So it gets voided, and you're just sitting and waiting again without knowing if you're going to get that money.
So what happens if, over the next 2 months, state and local governments can't get the money out to landlords any faster? Will they extend the ban even longer and have the taxpayer keep paying rent for tenants? And to keep protection for landlords, the moratorium for foreclosures just ended. It wasn't extended. So what could happen?
And I don't have the cash to pay my mortgage, then yes, the properties will end up back at the banks, and it'll crush a lot of small individual neighborhood investors who put their retirement money into a piece of real estate that they work really hard to take care of their tenants. So I think that it's a big problem coming. And then you also have different laws in terms of evictions. Some locations, some cities, the tenant's not paying rent, and eviction moratorium aside, tenants not paying rent, eviction happens quickly. In other places like the city of Chicago, it takes months and months. And then you have the backlog, and don't get me wrong, housing providers in this pandemic should not be evicting tenants. But if a tenant hasn't paid rent for more than a year, and you've got the eviction moratorium, and then the moratorium ends, how long is it going to take for the city of Chicago to process through all of those, people that are owners that are waiting for rent to be paid or waiting for a paying tenant to move into their space? So I just gave you a very long answer, but I think I'm concerned that there's pending doom that's coming related to this.
And Drexel's assessment of how long it will take to process all the evictions is also significant. The CDC doesn't want to see a large number of evictions happen all at once, but it can be a drawn-out process, especially given the backlog from last year. And the news comes as the 30-year mortgage rate in the U.S. fell below 3% last week for the first time since February. The Mortgage Bankers Association said today its average interest rate for the traditional 30-year mortgages decreased to 2.97%. Mortgage rates hit record lows below 2.9% last year. They climbed in the first part of this year and peaked in the spring, Rates have been drifting lower ever since, though. Applications to refinance and purchase both declined. The association says purchase volume was constrained by the ongoing lack of inventory that continues to drive rapid home price appreciation across the country. And a measure of economic activity in the services sector jumped to a record high in July, possibly boosted by a shift in spending from goods to services. The Institute for Supply Management, or ISM, says its service industry activity index jumped to 64.1 last month. That's the highest reading in the history of the series. Meanwhile, businesses continue to face rising prices. The ISM Prices Index, a measure of prices paid by services industries that could later be passed on to consumers, surged to 82.3 in July. That's the highest reading in nearly 16 years. A construction company executive told the ISM that costs have risen dramatically in the past 45 days. Fed officials say the inflation is temporary, but some economists worry we could see the wage price spiral from the 1970s stagflation again. And Microsoft is joining other companies in requiring workers to get vaccinated. The company says employees entering its buildings in the United States will be required to show proof of vaccination. The rule also applies to vendors and guests. Microsoft has around 100,000 employees in the U.S. The company says they plan to work with employees who have a protected reason for not being vaccinated. The new policy goes into effect September. That was the month Microsoft originally planned to reopen its offices. Now the company has pushed that date to October. And Bloomberg reports that investment firm Vanguard is giving $1,000 to employees who can prove they've gotten the vaccine by October. So even if you got it before the announcement, you still get the money. Bloomberg cited an insider source, and Vanguard later confirmed there is an incentive. And stocks closed broadly lower on Wall Street today, pulling the S&P 500 below its record high from a day earlier. The Dow fell 324 points, or 0.9%. S&P 500 lost 20 points today, about 0.5%. The Nasdaq added over 19 points, about 0.1%. And the Rothschild family is raising its stake in the crypto space. An investment trust founded by a member of the famous British banking family is funding the launch of a new crypto investment platform. The trust is called RIT Capital Partners. It'll lead the $9 million fundraising round for Aspen Digital. That's a Hong Kong-based crypto investment platform. The new platform would give wealthy investors a single portal to manage their crypto investments. That includes buying and holding crypto and investing in yield-generating products such as stablecoin-backed savings accounts. Investor enthusiasm for crypto has increased a lot over the past year, with one study showing 7 out of 10 institutional investors expect to invest in or buy digital assets in the future. London-listed RIT has invested in other crypto-related companies recently, such as U.S. crypto exchange Kraken. Aspen will target family offices and asset managers in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Expects to go live later this year. And companies are coming together this year like never before, according to Refinitiv's latest study. They've never seen merger and acquisition numbers like this since they started keeping track back in the 1980s. NTD's Olin Richards dives into the data.
Global mergers and acquisitions have reached an all-time record of $3.3 trillion year to date, more than double the amount last year, according to Refinitiv. The number of deals is also at an all-time record with over 33,000 year to date, compared with 27,000 last year. So why is this happening?
Right now, there's a lot of companies out there that have extremely overvalued shares of stock.
Lance Roberts, chief investment strategist at RIA Advisors, says one reason is that quantitative easing is elevating stock prices. Companies are taking advantage of the situation.
Companies know this, and they use those shares, the price of those shares, as basically purchasing currencies. So you'll see a lot of these mergers and acquisitions happening in the markets today. It's a function of mostly stock deals.
Generally speaking, organic growth is hard, so M&A is an attractive way to grow. The Refinitiv study finds that deals involving U.S. targets totaled around $260 billion in July, 42% more than the previous month. Tech led both in number of deals and in value in July, with over 800 deals worth a combined $93 billion. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And German fashion house Hugo Boss set ambitious sales targets today. Its new CEO says the company wants to double sales by 2025 to nearly $5 billion. It also aims to restore its operating profit margin to 12% by that time. His new CEO, the former head of Tommy Hilfiger, took over in June. He says he wants to make Hugo Boss one of the world's top 100 global brands. He plans to spend more than $118 million from now to 2025. The company reported a rebound in sales in the second quarter, particularly in Britain and China. Its recovery in China came despite calls for a boycott of Western brands in late March. That was over Western concerns about forced labor in Xinjiang. And still to come this evening. One airline is offering you plane tickets to Hawaii as cheap as $99. Which airline is it and how do you get it? That and more after this short break.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Welcome back. Royal Caribbean says its complete lineup of ships will be sailing by spring 2022. The cruise line will require all crew members and guests to be fully vaccinated against the virus, except for those guests leaving from Florida. That's because of the state's ban on vaccine passports. Royal Caribbean, though, still strongly recommends that they get the shots. As for children under the vaccine eligibility age, they'll have to be tested and follow other health and safety measures. Royal Caribbean says its vaccine policy helps safeguard the well-being of everyone on its ships and the communities at each port of call, adding that 110,000 guests have safely cruised with the company since December. And Alaska Airlines is offering cheap flights for those planning their fall getaways. The airline is having its biggest sale of the year with fares as low as $39 for one-way flights. For example, you can book a trip to Mexico for $87 or to Hawaii for $99 each way. To get the deals, passengers must be traveling between September 7th and November 17th or between November 30th and December 15th. Alaska Airlines Managing Director says there are over 500 deals and many are round trips less than $200 each. Alaska Airlines flies to more than 120 destinations across North America, Costa Rica, and Belize. And most of the spots are part of a 3-day sale. The deals end Thursday night. And the Tokyo Olympics is using cutting-edge technology to time athletes. This is all thanks to the official timekeeper, Swiss watch icon Omega. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on what's new.
Official Olympic timekeeper Omega was ready to keep its eye on the time for Tokyo 2020. A year later, the Swiss watch giant is back in action, serving the Olympics for the 29th time since its first role in 1932.
Our entire project also got postponed, so we put everything on hold, and we were so happy to finally get here, to have all our team arrive, all our equipment arrive, and get ready for start of competition.
Omega provides the results of every athlete in every sport using the latest technology, new positioning systems, and motion sensors. 5 new sports have been added to the Olympics at Tokyo 2020, and Omega has adapted its timing technology accordingly. One of the 5 new events is sport climbing. It will be the second sport after swimming where athletes can time themselves using Omega's revolutionary touchpads.
For the very first time, athletes and coaches, as well as spectators, will receive detailed information about their performances. Between the start and the finish, they'll be able to compare their data with other athletes' performances and eventually adjust their training also.
Zobrist says the company takes pride in its role as an official timekeeper for the Games, but also recognizes the responsibility that comes with the position, saying that mistakes are simply not an option. The Olympic Games end August 8th. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's the latest business updates for today. You can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.